Hello, I'm Ryan Face. So, this is going to be me reading the book I was writing. Now, I already uploaded one of these videos, it's unlisted, and, well, that was a version of the story from April 23rd, 2018. Yeah, I know, over a year ago. Today, well, since that video got a couple of likes, I decided I want to upload a video this week, even if I don't have enough time to actually edit in between studying for finals and everything else going on in my life, including work. I decided I'm going to read the current version I have from December 14th, 2018. It's been a while since I wrote from this, but yeah, I want to go and continue writing. So, anyway, it'll be 2 weeks before I enter back into my regularly scheduled programming, which will be Hat in Time and There Came an Echo now. I can't wait. I can't wait to have enough time to edit again because I miss it. Okay. Anyway, on to the show. A young man is greeted by an alleyway of shadow as he walks down the middle of the street. Despite being a public neighborhood on a sunny day, the trees along either side of the boy refuse to give way for anything to disperse the shadows. That is, until he reaches his destination, a single patch of sunlight. He sighs, seemingly content now that he's covered in light instead of shadow. Sounds peek into the serene scene, leaves rustling, breeze blowing, birds chirping, and behind it all, a calm silence. Noises of a car passing by the neighborhood stream past his ears. Distance makes everything seem safer. A warm breeze brushes past his face as he presses his phone into his warmer hand. A text message greets him. It's from John. Hey Will, I'm heading over for a marathon right now. See you there. Will taps out a quick, okay, before closing the messages and sliding his finger towards his music. Hundreds of soundtracks from his favorite movies and shows, dozens of audiobooks from various novels, and only one that sits on his mind today. A soundtrack from a show called City of Duality. It's getting a new season soon, and he wants to hype himself up for the obligatory Season 1 marathon he and his brother will be doing in celebration. He fishes through his pockets for his earbuds. The wires are bundled mess until he untangles them, and pushes a plug into his phone. His ears prick up under the weight of the glasses, as the ambient noise around him is interrupted by the sound of a car driving through the neighborhood. It's going a little fast, but the noise quickly dissipates as Will inserts buds into his ears. And they begin playing the opening song to City of Duality, Trusted Fall. Its opening calm beat greets him and lulls him in. It quickly gives way to a more intense melody with the calm beat still playing in the background. The intense melody begins to fall apart. The calm beat begins to get more intense, and then silence. The silence barely lasts a second, but it feels like forever before the song comes back full force, heralded by the squeal of tires behind him. Wait! Will whips around and finds the hood of a car inches from his face. Time slows down to a crawl. The song fades out of existence, and everything in front of him gets seared into his mind. This car looks familiar. He looks into the window. That face looks familiar. He looks at the dashboard. That case looks familiar. Then, what could only be a tenth of a millisecond later, a realization comes to the forefront of Will's heightened mind. This car is John's. That face is John's. The case on the dashboard is directly in front of Will now. It's John's copy of the City of Duality soundtrack. He must have had the same idea as I did. The moment lasts forever. John looks terrified. The car inches closer. What's going to happen to me? It touches Will. I'm scared too, John. The music comes back, full force. A crunch rings out across the empty street as a car flies through the street and crashes into one of the trees. A clatter as a phone, a pair of earbuds, and a cracked pair of glasses fall to the ground. A spatter of blood decorates the ground, but the blood's owner is nowhere to be found. The airbag is deployed in the car, but there is nobody to be saved by it. The street is empty. Nobody around at all. A door a few houses down opens, and a woman steps out, wanting to check what the noise was and make sure her son is safe. The music stops abruptly and is immediately replaced by a scream, followed by another scream. John is sitting on the wet ground in the dark night, clutching his head. I need to stop the car. The brakes won't work. He wobbles back and forth, his body no longer putting any effort into staying upright. I can't get out. If I do, then I can't see my brother. I can't do anything for my brother. There's a splash as John's body falls over into a puddle, still emitting its screech. What do I do? What do I do? What? John's hand shoots out and starts grabbing for something. Where is it? Where's the wheel? I need the wheel. His hand begins grasping around erratically, searching, pleading, begging. Then it hits the wet asphalt. What? John begins fumbling around, arms grasping, body contorting, everything moving around. Where's the seat? Where's the seat? Where? John's hand once again lands on the wet asphalt, this time in a puddle. It emits a splash, startling him. He hears the wind, he hears the rain, he feels the asphalt, and he feels pain. A sharp pain going through his hand. A bruise is forming. He tries to gasp in pain, but can't hear it over a nearby sound. What is that? He brings up his hand to his mouth, muffling the sound slightly. It's me. He tries to stop, but the sound still rings out, muffled from underneath his hand, and ringing out from another source. John looks to his side, wondering what that other source is, and spots a body lying on the ground. The sound stops. That red jacket and black hair. He recognizes him. Will? John presses his hands against the ground and attempts to push himself up, but yelps at the pressure on his bruises and falls to the ground. He looks up from his position to see a hospital with several orderlies coming out. They run out and pick up his brother. John attempts again to get up, but slips and falls with a splash. Will! The shout startles John as it reverberates through the air. Nobody else reacts. He gets up and heads through the front door right behind the orderlies. They lift Will onto a gurney and begin pushing down the hall, with John following right behind. He runs past the front desk, a security checkpoint, and some other staff, glancing at them as he goes past. Please, say something. What's going on? None of them react to his presence as they all continue on with their duties. The orderlies turn into a room, and John follows inside. He walks in to find no orderlies in sight. He walks in to find a variety of doctors and nurses, denoted only by their uniforms. They surround Will's body. Will is shaking. Heavy breaths racking his body. His arms and legs are bent at weird angles, bone jutting out. A doctor runs out of the room, nearly running into John, who nearly avoids him. John looks back at Will and staggers. One of the doctors has tools out, a bunch of knives and cutting tools. He's holding one of them up, then lowers it to Will and begins cutting. A shrill sound cuts through the air, far sharper than the knife. John finds himself in a chair in the corner, unable to look away. Did they not give him any painkillers? Get him some painkillers! Nobody reacts, but the doctor that I left before came back in with a bag and some pills. What's happening? He retreats further into the chair, clutching his head as his vision begins to shake. Will is still screaming, and John desperately wants to reach for him, but finds that he can't. He's too terrified. His muscles are locking up. Every attempt at movement he makes, drawing him a little closer to a full-blown collapse. So instead, he silently whimpers and clutches his head, wishing to know what was going on. Will falls silent. John stays still. A yell emanates from the room next over. Behind the wall. It startles John, and he looks up, straight into the face of one of the doctors. It terrifies him. It's blank. Completely blank. Chapter 1. Unwelcome Guests. Inarticulate emotion raged as she stared from her porch step. A recognizable car crashed nearby. She runs down towards it as a few faces peek outwards from doorways cast in shadow. She's desperate, afraid, angry, terrified, and unable to feel all at once. Please, don't be my sons. A muffled pain radiates through Will's body as he opens his eyes. He immediately shuts them as sharp white lights threaten to cause him to become even more blind than he already is. Still a little groggy, Will reaches over for his glasses only to stop. He can't move his arms. What's going on? Hesitant, Will opens his eyes and squints as they adjust to the lighting. This isn't my room. His eyes shoot open as they accept the onrush of information. The bright light sears already blurry vision as Will slowly realizes what he's looking at. Hospital lights. I'm in the hospital. He tries to look around, only to find that he can't turn his head. It's locked in place. I can't move. Oh God, I can't move. He tries to speak but can't form words around the dryness in his throat. Instead, he emits a slight croak. I can't call for help. I can't move. His eyes squint slightly as tears begin to collect on their surface. This can't be happening. The pain is telling him otherwise. I have to be imagining this. A sob coalesces in his throat and presents itself as a gasp and another croak. Please, I don't want to be alone. Will? The voice comes from off to his side. He can't turn his head to look, but even so, Will's collected tears begin to fall. John! It's John! I'm not alone! He begins to sob even harder, coughing it out in fits of pain and happiness. Hang on, I'll go get you some water. Will sees John cross in front of his vision. His normally immaculate black hair looks disheveled, and his eyes are red from tears. He's dirty and bruised in several places. John looks like he should be the one in the hospital bed. What even happened? Will listens as John crosses to the other side of the room and turns on a faucet. He comes back and holds a small paper cup from which Will drinks greedily. The water is gone in a moment, leaving nothing behind. His eyes strain as they look at John, silently begging for more. I need to know how I got here more than I need water. Will moves to talk, but John quickly interjects. I'm sorry, but... John pauses, and Will can see the moisture collect in his eyes. John blinks rapidly and tries to turn his face away before rubbing at his neck in pain. He's hurt, even more than he looks. Why is he trying to hide it? John heads back to the faucet with a tiny paper cup to refill it. There isn't... I'm sorry. There isn't anything... I could only find this one cup. Will chaps his lips, partially out of a lack of moisture and mostly out of nervousness. What happened to him? What happened to me? Why are we here? His mouth begins to open in a question. John? What happened? I don't remember. A splash, and the sound of the paper cup hitting the ground. Surprisingly quiet, yet overwhelmingly loud despite the size. A thump as something else hits the ground. A slight whimper, then a cry. He's having trouble talking. Heavy gasp coming out instead. John? Will is barely able to croak out his alarmed response, yet he can hear John respond in kind. He starts breathing slower and taking in deeper breaths. The crying continues unabated. I didn't... Before he can continue, both Will and John hear some yelling from the room next over. John's voice stops, and Will is about to ask what he was about to say, before the yelling starts up again. It sounds eerily familiar, causing Will and John to pause for a moment, but only for a moment. John? What? What happened? I was dry. John's voice tapers off, and leaving an uncomfortable silence in the room. What is he talking about? Was he... Did he say he was driving? Is he why I'm... The thoughts rattle around inside Will's head, and tears begin to collect once again in his eyes. He didn't. Another noise from the adjacent room rings out with the stamping of feet following suit. A scream rings out, and a door slams. John and Will stare at the wall that separates them from the noises, almost as if that's what enables them to see past the blockade. I remember this happening before, but where? Why is this so familiar? His vision locked in place, his body wrapped in a cast. All Will can do is listen as he hears John get up from the floor. I'm sorry, Will. Will sees John pass briefly in front of his vision before hearing the movement of a chair in the corner of the room. Smaller, more reserved sobs emanate from that corner as Will begins to cry again, only to find that his tears have dried. I need more water. Dry sobs come out instead. I'm so confused. What is happening? The door slams open and somebody comes into the room. They walk a little further in and approach the bed. Will can vaguely see the blurry outline of a white coat. A doctor. She reaches over him towards what is left of the painkillers by his bed. Will's startled by this, but is more perturbed by how hard it seems to be to focus on her face. I can't see anything there, it's just a blurry mess. He hears John get up from the chair and sees him stand behind the doctor. Hey, what are you doing? The doctor grabs the pills and runs out of the room. She is running out. She runs straight into John and right past him, knocking him to the ground in the process. The door swings closed behind her but gets caught on something, presumably John. John, are you alright? Will waits for a response, and he has none. Just when he's about to call for help, he sees John get up from the floor, albeit a little shakily. Yeah, just a little lightheaded. Well, sit down. They both chuckle a bit, shakily, before they begin to hear voices from the hallway. People talking, voices they recognize. That's not possible. They listen closer, both brothers convinced it's a joke or hallucination. No! No! I can't just abandon him. He took a bullet for me. Ma'am, it's just a precaution. You know what time it is, and our policy clearly states that we have to wait until it's over. Only authorized personnel are allowed to enter. John sits down and Will gasps. I'm just being silly. It's all in my head. Please, I just want to be in there. A heavy sigh. Only until 10 before. Steps echo along the hall. The sound of a door opening and closing shortly after, and then nothing. It can't be. That's just not possible, is it? The words match up perfectly, but anybody could just repeat those lines, word by word, completely by accident. John gets up suddenly and startles Will. He wobbles a bit, and Will can't tell whether it's from the lightheadedness or anxiety or shock. He moves towards the door and opens it all the way. John, where are you going? Will tries to sound alarmed, but his throat is still too dry and sore. He moves to stop John. He moves to grab him and hug him. He moves to wipe the tears from his own face, yet he can't move at all. He watches helplessly as John turns on to reply. just need to be sure. John walks out the door and closes it behind him. Mere moments later, the pain returns as the painkillers fade away. Before Will can scream out, the doctor re-enters the room. The door hadn't made a sound as it had opened, and Will hadn't discerned Amy's footsteps. He's unsure if the doctor is the same one as before, but notices that the body shape does seem familiar. He still can't perceive any facial features, but notices that the movements seem a little less robotic than before. Please. It hurts. Painkillers. Can you get my brother? The shape approaches and Will feels a plastic mask come down on his face. The mysterious doctor fiddles with a few knobs outside of Will's eyesight, and the sound of gas entering the mask fills his ears. I'm so thirsty. He tries to ask the doctor again about his brother. He tries to question why the doctor would place a plastic mask on his face. Regardless of what Will tries to say, he can't seem to form the words around the mask. His vision begins to waver as he loses consciousness. Will's eyes dart around as his anxiety rises, before falling back down to the gas, collapsing to the painkiller. Will's eyes come to rest on the wall behind the doctor, and the brown outline where the hallway should be. The doctor never opened the door. Then Will falls asleep. As he closes the door behind him, John looks down each end of the hallway, afraid to see the doctor's whipping faces again. For now, though, the hallway is entirely empty. It almost seems abandoned. As he looks down to one side, he sees a window. It's still dark out. Right next to him, the door over from where he and Will were is the room where they heard the yelling. I shouldn't. He approaches the door. I just have to peek. Raises a hand to knock. I can't. The sound stops as it's reaching out. The door slams open, pushing John aside. Brunette hair flashes across John's vision as he falls to the ground and hits his head against the wall. He looks up and sees somebody run down the hall. That looks like... His vision is swimming as John tries to organize his thoughts together. She's sobbing. Just like when... His vision begins to go dark. Did I hit my head that hard? His head rolls to the side, forcing him to peer through the crack between the door and the door frame. It can't be. The shock further ratchets his slowly fading mind, and before losing consciousness, one final thought passes through John's head. That's Reese Radley in the bed. The protagonist of City of Duality. Well, am I ever going to watch that today? Thank you so much for watching. I'll be uploading another one of these next week if I have time to record at all, which I hope I will. After that, I should have enough time to go through and make videos as normal. So, please, remember to always be awesome, always be kind, and always be random. See ya.